She starts off by saying, very few of us feel ready for the positions we are put into, whether through starting a new job, getting a promotion at work, starting your own company, or becoming a parent. Very few of us, especially women, feel that we're worthy of it. We talk down to ourselves, saying things that we would never say about our loved ones. We walk around feeling like frauds, second guessing ourselves, trying to push down the fear that someone's going to find out that we don't know what we're doing. And I quote, imposter syndrome is an epidemic and it affects underestimated people more than most. The cool thing about talking to so many people over the years is that I've started to see patterns that are inherent in all of us. What I've noticed is that we all have some sort of insecurity that can be leveraged against us, but only if we let it. Minimizing that insecurity in yourself is key. And then she goes through of how we go through making those insecurities. So at the end of the day, top of 159, everyone wants the same things in life. You have to remember you're not the only person who's ever felt this way. Arlan tells us her story about this. 159, there's this huge summit called LA17. Everyone's there. Jeff Bezos is headlining it. Shonda Rhimes was speaking. Malcolm Gladwell is there. Reed Hastings, founder of LinkedIn, is there. I'm sorry, of co-founder of Netflix, is there. Tickets to the festival were anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. And when she arrived, she headed to the room she was speaking in. It was a small room, maybe held 100 seats. Okay, Arlan, humble brag, small room. Okay, she said, I was excited. I was taking videos for Instagram. She was putting her phone up. Okay, everybody come to this room because I wanted to get as many people there as possible. She went in, she introduced herself to the sound engineer, and she was really excited to meet me. And they said, oh, they didn't tell you? This isn't your room anymore. Bottom of 159. My immediate thought was, oh, okay, top of page 160. All right, so maybe not enough people showed interest in my talk. And, there are a lot of big names here. Maybe they need the room. I was disappointed, but only because I'd already tweeted about the room and put it on Instagram. The sound engineer said she was upset because she had learned about me and been hoping to be the person to do her sound. I assumed she was trying to make me feel better about being downgraded. Then she said, let me take you to your new room. She led me down the hall, and I was looking into all these doorways, wondering how far away is this room? Is she going to take me outside and close the door behind me? When we got to the main lobby and she turned to me and whispered, there's something going on right now. And she put her finger to her lips. Then she opened the door and whispered, this was it. It wasn't the door to go outside. It was the main hall. And it was absolutely huge. I was confused. I had to ask her, what are we doing here? She said, this is your room. What do you think? I explained that I thought we were going to a smaller room, maybe a closet, and I assumed I had been downgraded out of lack of interest. And she explained, we looked at the app this morning. Listen to this, everyone. We looked at the app this morning and there were so many people who had signed up to see you that we actually bumped someone else so that you could have this room. So, unfortunately, underestimated groups suffer from imposter syndrome because they are often perceived and treated as imposters in the wider society. And thus her mindset was sitting there. Come on. You have to have a match in mindset. You can't be walking down the hall expecting to be in a smaller room. And sure, okay, the surprise of it was there, and she's telling us this, but she's telling us this in a chapter called Imposter Syndromes, basically saying if she hadn't had that shift in her mindset, none of that feeling of, oh my God, we're headed out the back door, all of that she could have saved herself from. So that's what we're pointing to when we're talking about imposter syndrome. That small conversation that we have with ourselves that is not a match for the rooms we're about to be in. And she talks about in 161 that we carry this around all the time. And so set it down. All of this weighs us down and piles us onto the imposter syndrome we already feel, and it compounds our internal self-doubt. Okay, that's on 161. Last part of this chapter, 162. I am here to say we do not have time for this. We cannot be slowed down by this. We need to be extra confident, extra sure of ourselves. We need to give ourselves 1,000% permission to do whatever it is we want to do. Confidence isn't just a hack, it's a superpower, and it's one we need to harness. It's for everyone. So then she takes us through ways to keep her mindset sharp. And we're going to make this list for ourselves. So a couple of examples for her, and then let's make our own list. So she said, here are a few things she finds helpful. She listens to music. Before a big meeting, before going on stage, she listens to music. And the first song on here is Get Up 10 by Cardi B. So we already know she's hyping it, and there's plenty of different musicians here. Okay. Number two, so number one, listens to music. Number two, she dresses for success, power dressing. I have to feel like myself. If I wore a suit and heels every day, it would feel like I'm wearing a costume. My go-to is dark jeans and a hoodie and purple shoes, always purple shoes. Try it out for yourself. See what outfit makes you feel confident. Number three, whenever I doubt myself, I worry, or if I worry that I might be overstepping, I ask myself, what would a white male do? That usually snaps me right out of it. It's an idea. If it's an idea or a pitch, if it's a question with embarrassing, she says, as long as I believe in what I'm doing, I'm going to go for it. Bottom of page 163. Number four, I tell myself every day, so this is maybe the mantras for each of us. I deserve to be here. I worked my ass off. I will not shrink myself to make someone else more uncomfortable. I deserve to be in the room. I refuse to compare my chapter 2 with someone else's chapter 10. That's an unfair comparison. And then number six, I take comfort in community. And she tells how she does that when she used to be on Twitter. So she closes out this chapter that says, here's what I know. Everyone has imposter syndrome because we're all figuring out this thing called life. Everyone you're jealous of is jealous of someone else. And there are people out there wishing they were you. So just remember, you're human, you're flawed, and everyone has to start somewhere. And if you know these things already, like how some people said they can't relate to this, then you're ahead of the game. Just helpful to hear different perspectives that we each have. It's not that we don't know these things, but what's our go-to? How do we kind of start breaking out of our mold that we're in to have that breakthrough forward? And I think the community part is interesting because I've been a part of a lot of communities, but as soon as I kind of started supporting Arlan in 2020, I recognized the freedom that we each have to just say how it is for us as a post. Like, look, my life is hard right now. I'm going through something, and not to feel like everybody's trying to fix you or people are trying to judge you or people are trying to over therapize you or any of that. And I find that so helpful because every day is not bright and sunny. And on the gloomy days, when you just want to feel heard, that we've created a space in at least this Your First 5K, and I know in Arlen's All Access, where people are like, yes, been there, hug, let us know what you need. Like, neutral, you will be fine, but not, again, like fixing each other. Which I know some communities kind of get off on that, like, let me coach you and let me fix you. So I just have to keep that space, which means stay honest, as Vicky is reminding us, is be yourself. If it's a bad day and you need to post about it, post about it. And the next day you might have two customers that you want to tell us about as well. And that was the sixth thing on Arlen's list, kind of we're stronger together in community. Okay, so we're walking into another humble brag by Arlan. Chapter 23 starts with, in the fall of 2018, I was one of the featured speakers at Vanity Fair's New Establishment Summit. It was really a cool day. I was put up in a suite in a fancy Beverly Hills hotel with a lot of others who would be speaking at the summit. Even though the venue was just down the road at the Annenberg Center for Performing Arts, a car service was provided. So I flew my mom in from Texas, and one of my best friends, Diane, was there as well. By the way, sorry, we're in chapter 23. The header of this chapter is Everyone Deserves Empathy. Okay, so I'm setting us up for that. So she talks about how people she knew, she came across them. And the top of 166, It was just cool to see other people that she's looked up to. One person had just announced a $360 million fund that person had just raised a week ago. Someone else had previously had a big role at Twitter, but it was great to have their support and see them doing so well. So now let's go to her mom and her mom's friend Diane and her friend Diane. So they went backstage and they were sitting across from the current CEO of Uber and the current CEO of Disney. And of course, as you know, you would sit next to Alanis Morissette. Now, I've been listening to Alanis's music since I was 13 or 14 years old, and I nearly lost my mind when she walked in, but I held together quite nicely. She had an all-white suit on. She looked great, and she had recently cut her hair really short. She looked wonderful, and it was all smiles the entire time. Now, the side here was, and this kind of hits home for me because I'm such a big Linkin Park fan. But a few months prior to this, Arlan says that she had seen Alanis perform at a tribute to Linkin Park's lead singer, Chester Bennington. And he was actually the reason Alanis got into the music industry. So it was a beautiful night, etc. So Arlan just had that experience. Now she's meeting Alanis in person. All right. At the concert, she talks about what Alanis performed. It touched her. It was deeply personal, etc. So in that kind of whole scenario, she says, sometimes we make fun of celebrities. This is at the last paragraph on 167. Sometimes we make fun of celebrities. We actually laugh off of the idea that they can have a bad life. But if you think about it, most celebrities have struggles just like the rest of us. Everyone deserves your empathy, even if they seem as though they don't need it. I actually have great empathy for celebrities in general. Now, just a few months later, she was standing in a room not more than 10 feet away from Alanis Morissette. This is top of page 168. They were both speakers for the event, and they were actually speaking on the same stage. Now, remember at this time, Arlan had already been on the cover of Fast Company, and that was her first cover. And she would always have a bunch of copies in her backpack. And she went to Alanis Morissette and said, "Hi, Alanis, my name is Arlan. I'm speaking a little bit later. I love you. I had the honor of seeing you at Chester's tribute at the Hollywood Bowl, and it was really meaningful to me." She looked at me in the eyes with a look of deep understanding. It felt like we had broken down the facade of being in a green room and famous people. It was just a connection, a thank you. I was hoping I wasn't making her sad by reminding her of Chester, but just kind of introducing herself. And then she says to Alanis Morissette, "It would be an honor to give you this magazine that I'm on the cover of." She looked at the cover and said, "It would be an honor to receive it." It was almost as though she was singing to me because that's totally something she would have said in an Alanis Morissette song. I handed the magazine to her. She held it at her chest a little bit and she just smiled really big. "This is great," she said. "I can't wait to read it." She put it away and I can only imagine and hope that she did read it. And that was chapter 23. So let's stay in the world of the rich and wealthy and let's move into chapter 24. We are same event from the previous chapter, that Vanity Fair, but this is now an evening event. And this was hosted by someone named Yuri Milner. And this person was a tech investor that purchased two homes in California, each of which is worth $100 million or more. The event was at a home co-hosted by Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's well known for his work at Disney. He was awarded the National Medal of the Arts and the CEO of DreamWorks Animation. And so this was the kind of after event, right? And she took her mom as her guest. Now, they're driving up to the event, top of page 170. And if you looked at the property, she said it looks like a resort. Like the opening you would see in a movie when entering Disneyland. And she said that was just the front yard. Upon arrival, we were handed champagne, which I handed back, explaining that I don't drink. One of the first people we met when we got inside was the CEO of a uniform company, meaning $1 billion company. And as they walked further to the house, she saw Katie Couric. At the time, Katie was the editor-in-chief of she was on the news, and then she also met Radhika Jones, who was the CEO-in-chief of Vanity Fair. She kind of lists all these names, right? Now they're ready to be served. Okay, so this is where dinner would be served. And she's sitting next to the CEO of a major media company, and she was seated next to Jeffrey Katzenberg. At that point, she said, I knew someone was looking out for me to put me next to the co-host of this event and one of the most powerful people in the room. I mean, basically, she's sitting next to the host of the home. Okay, so what did she do? She orders a Diet Coke. And one of the butlers, dressed like a penguin, brought it to me. White towel over his arms on a silver tray, and set the cold can of Diet Coke and a glass down in front of me. Then I spotted Jeffrey coming to his seat. He's a smaller dude, very inward, doesn't talk a lot, but you can tell he's always paying attention to everything and observing everything. So he came over, very cordial, and he said hi to everyone at the table, and then said hi to Arlan, and he sat down. Top of page 171. What did Jeffrey do, y'all? He reached for Arlan's Diet Coke. Arlan stopped him and immediately said, no, no, no. That is my Diet Coke. You don't drink that. I can get you another one. He looked at me with some sort of surprise, but like an interested surprise, with that look on his face that was more animated than she had seen a few minutes ago. She said, I think he was genuinely shocked that someone said no to him, and that someone would say no to him about something so petty. Maybe he thought I was joking at first, but I was dead serious because I was very excited about that Coke. It was the right temperature, it tasted great, and I hadn't had one all day. It was exactly what I wanted at the moment, and he was not going to take it away. And I don't like to share germs, so I assume he doesn't either. He said, fine, okay, thank you, and quickly found another penguin gentleman who swiftly brought him a Diet Coke. Then we sat there so posh at the dinner table in that fancy room with all these golden accessories that I've ever been in. And Jeffrey Katzenberg and I discussed Diet Cokes in life. And she wraps this anecdote up by saying, look, you don't touch my Diet Coke. I don't care if you're the Pope, you don't do it. And I later learned that Jeffrey drinks 12 to 13 Diet Cokes per day. So in this $100 million home of his friend, where he was only co-hosting, he had assumed where everyone else was drinking wine, champagne, and water, of course he thought that Diet Coke was his. He had assumed that someone anticipated his desire for Diet Coke. He had known that I, top of page 172, that I would be there. I would be sitting next to him, that I also love a good Diet Coke. She wraps up the chapter this way. People who have more money than you, or more success, or more friends, or whatever else that makes you feel intimidated, aren't inherently better than you. You are both just humans at the end of the day, and you both deserve an equal amount of respect. I don't know what would have happened if I let him have that Diet Coke, but I do know I would not have been able to look at myself in the mirror with as much conviction as I can today. And you know what? Jeffrey introduced me to many, many people that night, and we followed up via email afterward. It goes to show you that if you stay true to yourself, things are most likely going to turn out all right. Arlan now is walking into chapter 25, and she is talking about setting a fee to be a speaker. And she told herself that she's worth it. You know, like I have to set my price and I have to stick to that price. And she talks about for the first full year after she got through her stage fright, she actually spoke for free. And she would speak at firesides, kind of anywhere someone would ask her, she would say yes so that she could get through that stage fright. But at the around 2018, and honestly, that was at the Vanity Fair year. So 2018 was a big year for her. But she said so many people were now inviting her that now she needed to charge for her time. And she knew that charging a speaking fee was the right thing to do, but she was nervous about it. And so she decided on a figure and she had gotten information from other speakers, etc. Now, first of all, that number was scary to her. She told herself 174, quote, "That's the number I'm going to ask for. If someone doesn't take it, that's fine. That means I shouldn't go, and I'll just spend my time doing something else valuable." So here we go. First offer comes in. She told him, "My honorarium is this amount." They said, "Absolutely no way. We don't spend this kind of money. We have no budget for it." And she said, she thought to say, "Okay, I'll do it for free. I'll do it for the experience." But she said no. She replied, "Okay, fair enough. You don't have the budget." And I reminded myself that I had taken a stance to charge a certain amount. Okay, next one, 75, page 175, second paragraph. The next event came in from a company who had more money, and she knew they could afford her fee. So she was ready. And when she told them their raise, they said, "Absolutely not. We're not going to do that." And she said to herself, "Wow, okay, maybe I'll never get paid to speak." And she said, "Okay, that's fine. I'll do something else that day." Third request came in, and Trina, no, we got no numbers here. Sounds like it's a bigger number than she wanted to be comfortable with, but no specifics. Third inbound request came in. She said, "Okay, this is my honorarium. This is my travel stipend." This time the organizer said, "Oh, we actually have a budget for twice that much. So we'd like to offer you that, and we will take care of your travel, a plus one." And that day, she said, "I officially doubled my rate." So just want to leave us with this. And remember, the title of this chapter is "I Came for the Cake, Not the Crumbs." The cake, not the crumbs. She had already spoken for free. She had already been on stage for free. So in sum, 174, you have to know what value you bring. Put a price on it because your time and talent is worth it. And then everyone accept nothing less. And that's the end of the confidence section.